Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon, Yaoi, or Yuri content. I invite you all to my Boosty channel. My first video with a full lemon has already been uploaded to Boosty. Good luck!
お前はどこまで見えている。俺の死に様か。
Minato turned to his daughter and called her down. She landed near her Hokage and bowed to all the other Kage. Your daughter, Minato? The Mizukage smiled. What a beauty. Do you, Naruto, have a boyfriend? Or maybe the groom? Uzumaki smiled politely at the woman, turning in her direction. Yes, Mizukage-sama. She said. It's a pity, it would have been a wonderful union of the two countries. I have a good candidate for your wife. Naruto shuddered. She didn't see anyone next to her except Itachi. It would be worth thinking about. Anyone will be better than an Uchiha. Kurama rumbled in his head. I will refrain from commenting. For the first time in my memory. This is not about that now. Gaara spoke up. Naruto, tell me everything you know. He used several elements, earth and fire. His techniques were mainly attacking, he did not use defensive ones. He could also copy my techniques. At one point he started repeating after me exactly. Taijutsu at a high level. However, I have never seen such styles before. Very peculiar. He moved using technology that none of those present there knew about. I can't say anything about the chakra level. I'm sure he was hiding his true level, as well as his true strength. He did not fight at full strength, his task was to exhaust me so that he could then kidnap me. Are you a censor? Sasuke asked. Yes, Sasuke-sama. What else can you say? He was from the Uzumaki clan. I can say this with absolute confidence, because their chakra and blood are special. Can't be. The Uzumaki clan has long been exterminated. Its remains scattered throughout the world. I have never met one in my life. The Mizukage interrupted. My mother is from the Uzumaki clan. I also have Uzumaki genes. And my brother also has the genes of the Uzumaki clan. Said Naruto. Are you a Fuinjutsu master? Do you own it? Sasuke asked. Yes. The Jinchuriki said politely. Is that all you can say? Gaara interrupted them. Yes. You can go. Naruto nodded and went upstairs again. The Mizukage looked after her thoughtfully. Obviously, she thought that she had missed out on a profitable match for her country. Are you asking to fight for your country? For you? Set your people against an unknown enemy. We don't know his strength, we don't know what to expect from him. We don't know anything. Hey, flared up again. Naruto turned her head and looked at the accompanying rakeage. It turned out, oddly enough, to be Kirabe and the shinobi who was with him on the island. Kirabe waved his hand at her, and his comrade nodded his head. I always wondered how they could stand this man. The same way everyone can stand you. Answered the fox. I'll talk to you later. I'm looking forward to. Kyuubi growled, waving his tails in the inner world. The Jinchuriki of the Ninetails are in danger. We cannot allow the strongest of the Bijou to fall into the hands of the enemy. Minato said. We will fight. Gaara said. But no matter how much I respect you, Hokage-san, my army will fight not for you, but for Naruto Namikaze. The Jinchuriki must not fall into the hands of the enemy. I understand you, Kazekage-san. Minato nodded. Kurama said that he sensed slight confusion from him, but nothing more. He wasn't upset that Gaara was supporting Naruto over him. The Mizukage then agreed. She openly said that she would fight for the beautiful daughter of the Hokage, thereby supporting the Kazekage. Naruto suspected that this was why she had been brought here, to convince the Kage. My army will fight. The Tsuchikage said a few minutes later. I'm not happy about it, but the enemy is really dangerous if everything is as you say. Suspicious activity was also recently noticed on the border of my country, but no one was able to determine who those shinobi were or what organization they were from. I tend to support the Hokage on matters of national security. His neck snapped deliciously as he turned towards the wreckage. Brother, we should support them, Kirabi said from above, and then read out another portion of rap, from which few people understood anything. Although Naruto, who was used to this, sorted everything out. Kirabi said that the Hokage speaks business and it's not a matter of giving Jinchuriki into the hands of strangers. Hei shouted at his brother, but then agreed. Say thank you to my brother and your Jinchuriki, Minato. The wreckage growled. I am grateful that you supported me, Minato said politely. Waves of relief began to emanate from him as Kurama informed Naruto. Still, the conversation with the Kage was not easy. I announced the creation of the 5 Kage Alliance, said Mifune, as a mediator in these negotiations, who was personally asked by Minato to be present. Now it is necessary to resolve issues regarding the number of troops and their deployment. A month was allotted to prepare for war. During this time, countries had to prepare enough provisions for the duration of the battles, as well as begin intensive training of their fighters. After a tense Kage meeting, the village leader returned home to begin preparations. It was decided that 4 teams would be created from each country: close combat, ranged, analytical, and sabotage. A reserve team was also created, which would engage in battle only in case of emergency. There will be civilian protection camps in villages, and medical aid camps in many places. Iranians from different countries and villages began intensive preparations for war. Hyuga Tsukumo was appointed captain of the first team melee as Hyuga Hayashi's confidant and one of the experienced melee fighters. The second team ranged will be under the command of Kakashi Hatake, an experienced jounin of the village. The analytics team was the smallest in terms of number of people, but no less important. Nara Shikaku was appointed its captain. Representatives of this team will be located in each regiment during battles, as well as in the General Analytical Center that was formed in Konoha. The last, sabotage team, will be under the command of Uchiha Shursui. Its main task is to weaken the enemy and, oddly enough, search for information. Each team will consist of 20 regiments, which will be disbanded throughout all countries. Each regiment will have its own commander, to whom the shinobi will report, and he will directly report to the team commander. Each regiment has several Irinans. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura ended up in one regiment, which will be under the leadership of Uchiha Itachi, as well as Uchiha Shursui. There was no doubt that they would end up on the sabotage team. However, the question of Naruto's participation in the war was acute. This issue was raised at the meeting. Thanks to Jiraiya, who stood up for Naruto and said that she is a very strong fighter and that every shinobi is important in this war. The Kage began to talk about the safety of the Jinchuriki, but still came to the conclusion that Naruto could not remain on the sidelines. Upon returning to the village, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura began training together. They practiced teamwork, which they already had at a high level. Naruto also found a way to maintain contact with them while being at a great distance. Kurama helped her with this. They came up with a seal that allows you to communicate on a mental level. Sasuke and Sakura received one on their hands, and Naruto poured a small amount of Kyuubi chakra into each of them to activate it. To use it, it was enough to pour in a small amount of your chakra, and at the end of the conversation, block the flow of chakra to this place. Anyone with good control can do this in seconds. The same seal was placed on Itachi, Shursui, Kakashi, Hinata, and Neji. The good thing about it was that you could contact one person or everyone at once. It's just that everyone who was given a seal had to pour a little bit of their chakra into each seal. Hatake also asked that the same seal be installed on his wife so that he could have a connection with her. However, Rin only had Naruto and Kakashi's chakra in the seal. For security reasons, it was decided that no one would know about these seals. Be that as it may, Naruto would not be able to provide seals of this level to more people. These seals will only be used if absolutely necessary. Simply put, Naruto installed these seals only on those people whom she trusted unconditionally and with whom she wanted to always be in touch. Naruto also planned to install this seal on Gaara as soon as she met him, so that the best friend, wherever he was fighting, could also contact her. As far as she knew, Gaara was the leader of his country's ranged team. Of course, the Kage were unhappy that the Kazekage intended to fight instead of leading his army from the command center. However, Gaara said that he was not going to sit in the shadows while his fighters sacrificed themselves. The Kage had nothing to say to this. True, Sasuke was absent from all these trainings for a week and a half. At the very beginning, when he and Itachi first received the Mangekyo, he said that due to frequent use, vision was lost, and Sasuke confirmed this. The guy himself very rarely uses his Mangekyo, so his vision has weakened slightly, but this is observed. Sasuke said that they needed to exchange eyes, no matter how terrible it sounded. Sasuke supported him, saying that they were very lucky. Therefore, an urgent secret operation was carried out, which only 5 people knew about besides those undergoing the operation: Sasuke, Fugaku as the head of the clan, Tsunade and Sakura, who carried out the operation, and Naruto, who simply could not help but know. The operation went well. Even great. Both Uchiha's eyes healed well, so 10 days after the operation, Uchiha Sasuke returned to training, simultaneously developing his Mangekyo. Itachi was completely immersed in the study of his Mangekyo, in which Sasuke helped him. In general, everything is back to normal. And the war was getting closer and closer. Now Naruto understood that it was impossible to save everyone. Arriving in this world, she set herself a goal to save the people close to her. And she won't give it up for anything. She would do everything in her power to protect the people dear to her heart, but she was also prepared for someone to die. Kurama gave her a good lecture about how, even with her powers, she couldn't protect everyone. And Naruto understood and accepted this, but, of course, she won't stop trying. "Good morning, Kaa-chan," Naruto said as she walked into the kitchen. Oddly enough, her whole family was sitting there. Even Minato decided to have breakfast at home this morning rather than at the residence. It wasn't that Naruto got it, but it made him wonder. "Oto-san." She bowed to her father as a sign of respect. "Ni-san." She nodded her head. "Good, Amato." Akira smiled. Kushina did the same. Minato just nodded his head, not looking up from his papers. "Are you free today?" "No, Nii-san, I have training with the team." In relations with her brother, Naruto still maintained neutrality. Their relationship, one might say, did not change after that conversation. Akira began to pay more attention to his sister and take an interest in her life, stopped getting angry for no reason and became more restrained in showing his emotions. Perhaps this is the only change. Naruto heard her brother's words, understood him, but was not ready to establish warm and friendly relations with him. She respects him, yes, but she doesn't trust him, no matter how sad it is. "Rest, Naruto." Kushina sighed. "When to rest, Kaa-chan?" "Moreover, I'm not tired. I have good stamina," Uzumaki said calmly. Suddenly, she felt a weak source of chakra that was located in her house. She frowned and scanned the house again. There were no ill-wishers, there was no foreign chakra, but a weak source was still present. And he was very close. "Kurama, is this what I think it is?" Naruto asked her friend in surprise. "Yes." "Databao." Naruto choked on the water she had been drinking before, but quickly pulled herself together. She looked at Kaa-chan, then at Oto-san, and then at Akira. And then back to Kushina. Naruto wanted to ask right now, but decided that she would do it after the Hokage and Ni-san left. She'll even stay late for this. This happened half an hour later. Naruto was already about 10 minutes late for training, but it was worth it. True, Sasuke and Sakura will burn with righteous anger, but nothing. They'll wait. As soon as the man left the house, using her favorite Haration, Naruto asked Kushina. Kaa-chan, is there anything you want to say? What are you talking about? You're pregnant, Kaa-chan. Kushina even stopped chewing the bun and looked at her daughter. She smiled slightly and tilted her head. I felt a new source of chakra. He is still very weak. It seems like the 3rd month. I'm right? I completely forgot that you are a censor. Kushina sighed. And this was the answer. And now it became clear why Kaa-chan began to appear in the hospital so often. Naruto had long noticed this oddity, but decided not to draw attention to it. Congratulations, Kaa-chan. Naruto said sincerely and smiled. Thank you. Does Oto-san know? Certainly. I wanted to say later, but I completely didn't take into account that you are a censor and will feel it. Kushina said doomedly. Only Akira remains. He will be happy for you. Uzumaki smiled. Hope so. After Kushina's words, Naruto stood up from the table and, waving her hand, ran away, hearing at last. Good luck, Naruto. While Naruto ran across the rooftops and trees to the training ground, she thought about this conversation with Kaa-chan. In fact, this was the first normal full-fledged conversation with her in 3 years. Not to say that Naruto forgave and forgot all those years that she spent alone, but her soul somehow felt lighter. Moreover, she was very glad that another child would appear in the family. He won't be a Jinchuriki, he won't know what it's like when a bija tries to escape from its host. She hoped that this child would grow up happy and receive as much parental love as Naruto did not receive. Of course, she remembered that Kaa-chan was caring, kind, that she loved her, even though she was afraid. And the turning point that occurred in her family, after which Naruto literally lost her family, finally crippled her mother, who had already suffered from Biju. Naruto didn't know what she had done to Oto-san, she didn't know why her brother suddenly began to be afraid of her, and her mother began to look with fear. After all, she, like no one else, knew that Jinchuriki were not monsters, that they needed help and support. And Naruto didn't understand how you could abandon your child, not support him and not help him. How can you calmly watch how your own child closes in on himself and suffers? She absolutely does not understand this. And forget, never forget. But she remembered the good moments that she had in this family. Behind her thoughts, she didn't even notice how she reached the training ground, where the angry Sakura and the irritated Sasuke were already waiting for her. Sorry, I had a conversation with Kaa-chan. Naruto apologized, dodging the fire techniques flying at her from Sasuke and the earth techniques from Sakura. You're setting a bad example from Kakashi-sensei. Sakura growled, and Naruto just snorted. She is still very far from Hitaki. What kind of conversation? Sasuke asked, dodging the wind technique. Naruto, without talking to Sakura, began an attack on him, synchronizing, one might say, with the ironing. Sakura threw kunai at the Uchiha, strengthening them with chakra, and crushed the ground with her fists, and Naruto threw fire, water and wind techniques at him. Sasuke had to fight off 2 at once. Kaa-chan is pregnant. Uzumaki said, appearing behind the Uchiha and putting a kunai to his throat. Sasuke disintegrated into snakes and appeared behind Sakura, attacking her at the same time as Naruto. Now Sakura was in the role of the victim. Haruno went underground using the technique. So Naruto's fireball collided with Uchiha's fireball. Sakura appeared behind Uzumaki and intended to punch her, but the Jinchuriki turned into a cloud of steam. Then Sakura looked up, where Naruto was already flying towards her. She took out kunai from her bag and threw them in 2 different directions at the Uzumaki and the Uchiha. Sasuke easily dodged, but the blonde disappeared into thin air again. That's how it is. Sasuke chuckled, attacking his best friend, who showed up on the tree. Sakura supported him with an earthquake, which caused Naruto to get out of the tree. I often saw Kushina-san in the hospital. She came to see Tsunade-san, obviously now for an examination. How long? Sakura said, jumping into the air. Sasuke tossed her a dagger, which she launched at Naruto from above while the Uchiha attacked her Chidori. Uzumaki had to leave with a replacement, so in her place was only a charred piece of wood with a dagger. Sakura hit the ground with all her might. Naruto appeared from there and immediately launched an air gust at Sakura. The girl, of course, dodged. A little over 3 months. I felt a faint source of chakra. Naruto took out kunai and launched the element of wind at them when Sasuke drew his katanas. They engaged in close combat, and Sakura worked with pure taijutsu. In the end, it was everyone for themselves this time. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura created an incredibly beautiful battle dance. They moved at tremendous speed, simultaneously striking each other. And few could actually see their movements. Truly wonderful. The war began unexpectedly. It would seem that everyone was preparing for this, counting down the days until the offensive, but the war began unexpectedly. Especially for civilians. Of course, they were warned about what was coming, but as soon as most of the shinobi left for the battlefield, people felt the full weight of existence. There were fewer people on the streets, cities began to come under attack, albeit in small numbers. Of course, there were genin and chunin in the villages who coped with the task of protecting the civilian population, but the difference was still felt. The number of products in the store has noticeably decreased. And the whole atmosphere as a whole was tense. The spirit of war was in the air, and everyone did not like it. Kushina tried, to the best of her ability, to help the remaining shinobi in the village. And all the kunoichi, who had long since retired, participated in maintaining order in the village. Together with Mikoto, the former Jinchuriki gave lessons at the academy, because there were noticeably fewer teachers, organized training and much more, while the shinobi capable of fighting went to the battlefield. The third Hokage, who returned from his journey for this purpose, was appointed acting head of the village. In general, life in the villages went on as usual, while the shinobi fought for a peaceful sky above their heads. The general gathering that took place in the country of sand, on the border with the country of rivers, raised the morale of the shinobi. The speech that Minato gave in Gaara continued left an impression on every person in the ranks. Indeed, she called for people to stand up for their countries, their people, so that their children and grandchildren could see not only war, blood and poverty, but also a beautiful, calm life. Gaara added about patriotism and loyalty, about kindness and willingness to fight to the end. In general, the Kazekage and Hokage, one might say, put their whole souls into this fiery speech. Naruto met with Gaara a few hours before the general meeting. She and the regiment arrived earlier, and the Kazekage even earlier than them, so Uzumaki seized the moment to talk with her best friend. She, Sasuke, and Itachi moved away from all the people, away so that no one could see Naruto stamping him. Once the seal was set, the brothers went into formation to find Hinata and Sakura. You will have a connection with me, Sasuke and Itachi, because only we infused our chakra into you. Uzumaki explained. They, in turn, will have a connection with you. Understood. The Kazekage said briefly. Who else has such a seal? Shursui, Kakashi-sensei, Sakura, Hinata, and Niji. And also Kakashi's wife, but she only has a connection with him and me. Uzumaki answered. Only we know about this seal. We use it only in case of emergency. I trust you and want you to always be in touch with me. Don't forget to make yourself known, okay? Fine. Thank you. The guy smiled slightly. Be careful, Naruto. I know you will climb ahead of everyone. Everything will be fine. The girl smiled. The troops of the Raikage and Tsuchikage are approaching. It's time to get back into action. She held out her hand and Gaara slammed his fist on it. Then they found themselves in the inner world, and their tailed beast stood behind them. Shikaku, I'm counting on you. Naruto said honestly. Protect my friend. You trust demons too much. Raccoon squeaked. I've been protecting him for a long time, you don't have to tell me about it. Gaara said the same thing to Kyubi, for which he received a contemptuous look and a grin. Kurama said that this has long been his main task, because Uzumaki always gets into something. The Kazekage nodded in agreement. Naruto snorted indignantly. As soon as they emerged from the inner world, Naruto and Gaara went to their places. Uzumaki found Itachi and Sasuke in formation, and the Kazekage stood next to Minato as one of the leaders. The first clashes began an hour after leaving. Naruto's regiment encountered a group of enemy shinobi as they approached the site of activity on the sand border. Uzumaki felt them very sharply. It was as if they appeared out of thin air. After scanning the attackers, Naruto found out that their chakra level was minimal. However, there were many of them. They ran towards the shinobi in a huge crowd. Uzumaki, however, was not sure that the attackers were even human. She felt their chakra, but felt no emotion. It was as if they weren't there. This seemed very strange to Naruto. Even among the Uchiha, always calm and cool, she felt emotions. The attackers were like clones, like Zetsu in that world. A huge army is approaching. Naruto told Itachi. Shursui, as team commander, was at the main headquarters, coordinating the actions of each regiment. The chakra level is small, but there are a lot of them. They'll be here within 5 minutes. Nice. Itachi nodded. There are about 100 of them, I feel. Uzumaki frowned. Disband around the perimeter. They must not go deep into the desert. Uchiha Sr. gave the order. The shinobi began to disperse several meters to the right and left. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura and about 5 other shinobi remained standing slightly ahead of Itachi, covering their commander. The loss of a commander in a regiment is the cause of chaos, so no one could allow him to die. The closer the enemies came, the more Naruto sensed their chakra. She felt the natural energy emanating from them, and she really didn't like it. Natural energy can only be defeated by natural energy, but who in her regiment knows senjutsu? Just her and Sasuke, basically. Sakura was proficient in medical techniques. They saw their first enemies 4 minutes later. These were huge people wearing black masks. It seems their whole body was black. Only the eyes stood out against this black background, bright white, without a pupil. A shinobi asked quietly, looking at this creature. It was as if they were lifeless. They ran in a huge, uncontrollable crowd, pushing each other and saying nothing. What it is? Itachi asked quietly. He didn't know what to call these creatures. The enemy was already a few meters away when Naruto made her first attack. Entering fox mode and making a Rasen Shuriken, she launched it into the crowd of creatures. Rasen Shuriken created a powerful gust of wind, as well as a blue sphere, which destroyed enemy shinobi, if you can call them that, with small cuts. Naruto felt the power of several shinobi who were hit by the technique subsiding. Naruto's attack became the catalyst for further action. All the shinobi rushed towards the crowd at once, joining the battle. Technicians were flying everywhere, and the crew could be heard shouting and swearing. Somewhere a blazing fire was visible, somewhere lightning flashed, somewhere stakes grew out of the ground. Every shinobi joined the fight. It took about 20 minutes to destroy all hundreds of creatures. They, as it turned out, had practically no technique, only taijutsu. They attacked the shinobi, began to beat them and cut them holy kami with their claws. And their claws were long. It soon became clear that this cut was not as harmless as it might seem. Shinobi who received it quickly lost chakra, and then turned into black creatures. There were 3 of them in Naruto's regiment. She literally felt how their chakra was fading, how they were losing their minds along with their emotions. The medical techniques of the doctors did not help the wounds healed, but the shinobi could no longer be saved. Sakura had to destroy 2, another ironing destroyed the last one. When there were no attackers left, Naruto scanned her regiment. Apart from those 3, no one turned into this creature, everyone was safe and healthy, with the exception of 4 who were cured by the Irionans. Itachi looked at the corpses of black creatures surrounding them with a mixture of indignation and contempt. It turned out to be easy to defeat them, the main thing is not to fall under their claws. Naruto, in order not to waste time, quickly contacted Sasuke, while Itachi, with the help of a representative of the Yamanaka clan, contacted Minato. Sasuke, what do you hear? You were the first to be attacked. There have been no attacks on other regiments yet, nor on other teams. We saw them when they were 200 meters away from you. The Uchiha's voice sounded in my head. They seemed to come out of the ground. These are very strange creatures, Sasuke. They are completely black with white eyes. Their chakra levels were low, but they attacked in droves. Approximately 110 creatures. They didn't use any techniques, but their weapons, as we understood, were claws. If a shinobi is cut, he loses his mind and becomes this creature. We lost 3. The Iranians could not help them in any way. We need to tell everyone not to fall under their claws. Are there any casualties yet? Losses? Everyone else is fine. There were a couple of wounds, but the Iranians quickly healed them. Fine. Keep me informed. Minato had already finished talking to Itachi. Let's find out what my cousin told the Hokage. And we need to warn other regiment commanders so that they are prepared. Fine. Itachi and I will talk to Gaara, tell him in detail, while our shinobi catch their breath. Understood. Take care of yourself. I count on everyone. Yes, Commander. Naruto is sure that Sasuke rolled his eyes. She tuned out cousin Itachi and ran over to Kurama for a second. Until his chakra was needed, the fox dozed. Naruto is confident that he is scanning the area while he sleeps and that he will come to help when needed. Itachi and Naruto quickly relayed everything to Gaara. He was notified of their condition and, upon hearing that they were alive and well, passed out. What did the Hokage say? Naruto asked her lover. Move in the same direction. If necessary, destroy armies of these creatures and collect information about them. The Uchiha said briefly. Sasuke, standing nearby, frowned and put his hand on his katana. I told Sasuke everything in detail. Naruto nodded. He asked to keep him informed of events. How is the situation in other regiments? Sakura asked as she approached. She finished examining the last shinobi, so she now went to her friends to find out the latest news. In passing, she examined Sasuke, who had not been caught before, and Itachi, who had previously been talking with the Hokage. Naruto said that she was not even touched, especially since she has a fox, but Sakura still examined her too. Just in case. We are the first to encounter them. Uzumaki said. Simply pioneers. The younger Uchiha remarked sadly. Naruto burst out laughing. 5 minutes later, when all the shinobi were ready to go again, the regiment set off. Naruto hoped with all her heart that this war would be short-lived. The attacks became more frequent. There were more and more black creatures. They seemed to be coming from all sides. Each regiment had already entered into battle with these creatures more than once or twice, but their number did not decrease. Only the shinobi defeated 100. 10 minutes later, 2 more were on the way. Naruto tried hard to figure out where these creatures were coming from. She constantly scanned the area, but every time this something appeared as if out of nowhere. Either from underground, or from the sky, or from some kind of portal. The Uzumaki didn't know how to describe it and didn't know how to explain it. Naruto also began to notice that each time there were more and more of these creatures. If the first group was about 100, then the second was already about 200. And this already prompted the Jinchuriki to have certain thoughts. Aniki, do you notice anything strange? Sasuke asked his brother when they finished off the next batch of creatures. I notice a lot of strange things, Otudo. Itachi said gloomily. They are increasing their numbers. Naruto snorted. But they, increasing their numbers, attack not from one side but from different ones. The creatures we killed must be recovering. I thought about that too. Itachi nodded. But we cannot say this for sure until we are convinced ourselves. We need to move on," said Shikamaru, who approached. "But I overheard your conversation." The guy spoke lazily. "It makes sense. I thought about it, but could not confirm my guesses. The first time there were about 100 of them. Started to remember Naruto. The second time we were attacked by 200. Then there were 300. How did I not notice this before? I felt small bursts of chakra in the direction where we left the previous corpses, but I didn't attach any importance to it. I always feel such surges," the Jinchuriki said gloomily. "We need to make sure of this." "Any ideas?" Itachi asked. "We need to leave a few people here to look after the corpses." Shikamaru nodded. "I'll stay," said Naruto. I wanted to suggest this, but Shikamaru beat me to it. "There are about 400 of them here. If we are right, then the next time they should have attacked a little more than 500. I won't leave you alone." Sasuke chuckled. "If these living dead come to life, and this will happen with a high probability, then you will need a lot of strength to resist them. But the war has just begun, we still need your strength." "Sasuke is right, Naruto. I'll stay with you too. After all, we are a team," said Sakura, who had been standing next to Shikamaru all this time, healing his shoulder. "Itachi?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Sasuke and Sakura will stay with you. Your team can handle it. You need to find a way to destroy them completely." Uchiha Sr. nodded. "We will move on." "Fine." Naruto nodded. Itachi lined up all the shinobi and they moved further to the northwest. Team number 7, having listened to the instructions from the commander, nodded synchronously. Uchiha Sr. and Shikamaru wished them luck and asked them to be careful. The shinobi just snorted. When were they not actually careful? Team 7 moved some distance away from the corpses, but they remained within their line of sight. The regiment moved further and further away, and Naruto began to feel a small flow of chakra heading towards these creatures. More precisely, they fed on natural energy, it accumulated above the corpses, and the creatures gradually absorbed it into themselves. During battles, Naruto felt this natural energy. However, her fears about the method of dealing with them were not confirmed, the creatures fell dead from simple techniques. The only real danger was their claws. About 15 shinobi from their regiment were killed. This was a small number when compared to the war of that world. But this is just the beginning. There was no way to contact Shursui and find out about losses in other regiments. Itachi said that it was too early to tell the Kaga about their guesses, he needed to make sure of this first, so he waited for the return of team number 7 to communicate. 10 minutes later, Naruto felt a surge of chakra, and then these creatures began to rise. It seemed like they hadn't just been beaten, killed, by shinobi. Like new, seriously. The shinobi could watch the black creatures rise to their feet silently and without making any noise. As soon as everyone got up, they ran forward, just in the direction the regiment was moving. "Sakura, put up a wall," Sasuke commanded. He turned on his Sharingans to track the creature's movements. Naruto went into fox mode. She expanded her sensory abilities to sense her entire regiment. They were a good distance away from Team 7, but Naruto could still feel them. She also felt hundreds of enemies approaching them. Haruno put up an earthen wall to somehow contain the creatures. She was not tall, about 2 meters high, but long. Uzumaki strengthened it with a few injutsu seal and, while Sakura held the wall, jumped onto it. The enemies were getting closer, but they seemed not to notice the wall. Unreasonable creatures. "Sasuke, come up here," Uzumaki asked. The Uchiha stood up. "Look there." Naruto pointed into the distance where the creatures lay a few minutes ago. There were about 15 of the same ones left lying there. Why didn't they get up? "We need to look." Sasuke nodded. "I'm running away." Naruto, without leaving fox mode, jumped high. She flew past about half of all the creatures and landed right in the center of this crowd, immediately clearing her way with the wind technique. She ran past the creatures who did not even notice her, and reached their resting place. There really were about 15 unresurrected corpses lying there. They were all burned by fire. They literally turned into black sand, and there were no signs of life at all. Sasuke, Sakura. This is fire. They can be destroyed by fire. The girl contacted her team. They did not answer, but within seconds, the characteristic sound of the fire technique was heard. Sasuke began to act. Naruto immediately returned to her teammates, simultaneously destroying enemies with fire. She jumped onto the wall and, having created several clones, began to launch techniques. She turned off Fox mode. 2 of the clones launched wind techniques, enhancing the attacks of Sasuke and the other 3 clones. Naruto herself came down from the wall to Sakura to update her Fuinjutsu. Hold on, Sakura, there's not much left. Even though Haruno was a fighting Ironin and Tsunade's student, her chakra level was significantly lower than that of Sasuke and Naruto. Everything is fine. There is still enough chakra. Sakura said. I know, but still. Naruto jumped onto the wall to help her best friend and clones. She released a fire dragon that connected with Sasuke's dragon. The dragons intertwined in a truly beautiful dance, and then, when 2 Naruto clones added the wind technique, they burst into a huge stream of fire, destroying everything in their path. The heat was felt even on the wall, so the comrades jumped off, and Sasuke gave Sakura the go-ahead to lower the wall. The picture that appeared before them was truly mesmerizing. Night was already falling on the desert, and in these darkness, the fire burned brightly. Tongues of flame rose high into the sky, dousing the young shinobi with heat. 2 fire dragons destroyed all the enemies that remained. You just have to fall asleep and you've already burned, fried, destroyed something. Kurama chuckled cheerfully in his head. Naruto just snorted. We need to catch up with the regiment. I think it's about 20 minutes away. Uzumaki said. The team nodded and they ran in the direction of the regiment. They practically dealt with the enemy. I can't say anything about the victims. It's already getting dark. Sakura said. We need to set up camp so the shinobi can at least regain some strength. They fought a lot today. Sakura spoke as the friends ran forward. I told Itachi about the fire. With him, they should be able to quickly deal with 100. Fine. Naruto nodded, speeding up. The team followed her. Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto reached their regiment when they had already dealt with the fire. Those who mastered the element of fire burned the bodies of the creatures. And the rest helped the wounded, of which there were few. Judging by the fact that they did not turn black, they were not wounded by claws. Already good. Haruno immediately hurried to the other Ironin to help them, and Naruto and Sasuke to Itachi, who were destroying the corpses of the creatures. What can you tell me? The Uchiha frowned. Everything is as we thought. They regenerated themselves using natural energy, but those killed by fire did not. So we decided that fire was destroying them. He turns them into black ash. Naruto reported. Itachi, looking around the battlefield, nodded with satisfaction and lowered his eyes tiredly. Fine. Let's move another 50 meters and set up camp there. Need rest. And we need to contact Shisui and the Hokage to tell the news. The Uchiha rubbed his eyes. Nevertheless, the battle significantly exhausted even him, one of the strongest jounin of the village. Naruto was afraid to even imagine what was happening to the others. Then it should be easier, since we destroy these. I can't understand how the others appear. A little more than 100 each time. And every time 200 meters from us. Said Sasuke. It must be some kind of technique, but I've never seen anything like it. Orochimaru told a lot about techniques of resurrection, subjugation, creation, but I had never heard or seen anything like that. We need to find this masked man. Itachi said. Then we'll find out everything. Easier said than done. I don't feel it. At all. Naruto bit her lip intensely. An hour and a half later, they set up camp 50 meters from the previous battle site. Shikamaru suggested that the technique that creates these creatures, or the person who controls them, reacts to the approaching chakra. Therefore, they did not dare to go further. They all needed rest. As soon as all the shinobi had dispersed to the camp, Itachi, Naruto, and Sasuke sat down on the sand. There was nothing else here except him. Away from the other fighters, and contacted Sasuke. I haven't heard from you for a long time. How are you? The commander asked immediately. Naruto briefly told him about the events of the past 3 hours and told him new information about the black creatures. Itachi reported on the losses, casualties, and the path traveled. Sasuke only occasionally inserted a word. This needs to be told to the rest of the teams. We suffered quite heavy losses, but now activity has begun to decline. Obviously because of the approaching night. About 1,000 shinobi have been lost, according to current data, but battles are still being fought. Disappointing results after the first day. Sasuke chuckled. At least you're alive. And you were able to find out something that will help in the future. Sasuke said softly. What have you heard from our people? Itachi asked. Everybody is alive. Naruto exhaled. Sasuke didn't say anything more, but that was enough. After Sasuke, Itachi, with the help of a representative of the Yamanako clan, contacted the Hokage, because Minato personally asked the elder to report on everything. The Jounin told a brief story and talked about the information he had obtained. It was like a report, so it was short and took about 5 minutes, when, as with the cousin, they talked for about 15. Naruto also managed to convey information about the fire to Kakashi, Neji, Gaara, and Hinata so that they were ready. After reporting to as many people as possible and making sure everyone close to her was okay, Naruto allowed herself to relax for a few minutes. The whole burden of this day fell upon her at once in the form of fatigue. But it was more of an emotional and moral fatigue. She was full of strength and energy, but she just wanted to fall asleep next to Itachi and wake up in her bed in Konoha. Sasuke, making sure that his bride was safe and healthy, went somewhere to the center of the camp to discuss something with Shikamaru and check on Sakura. The girl had worked hard today, but knowing her teammate, he was sure that she would not rest until she checked all the shinobi in the camp. Therefore, Uchiha Jr. set himself the task of sending his girlfriend to rest and letting the other ironing work. Although Haruno was the unspoken leader among the doctors, her body and mind needed sleep. Moreover, in addition to medical jutsu, she also used elemental ones. She held the wall for about 40 minutes. Sasuke already imagined how much nerves he would spend to send his girlfriend to bed. No, seriously, it's like a battle of the titans. The student of Tsunade, a very hot-tempered woman, by the way, with whom Sakura spent 24 hours a day for 3 years, and the student of Orochimaru, a snake, an intriguer, a cold-blooded Sannin with whom Sasuke spent these dungeons the most 3 years and which spoiled the already difficult character of the Uchiha, making everything much worse. While Sasuke, as the leader of team number 7, was dealing with Sakura, Naruto, and Itachi gave up on everything and lay down on the sand. Uzumaki lay down on the chest of her boyfriend, and the Uchiha, closing his eyes, calmly ran his hand along the girl's back. You need to rest. Naruto said quietly. You too. I recover faster than you. I am still full of strength, although I am battered internally. The girl sighed. Let's go, we can't sleep here. Itachi said languidly, getting up himself and picking up his girlfriend. He kissed her softly on the lips, and then took her hand and led her into the camp. They are too tired. It was most difficult for melee fighters. They were in particular danger when they fought these creatures. It took all their dexterity to escape the claws. Even in the first battle, Neji realized that the Byakugan was useless. They had virtually no chakra, so the soft hand technique didn't help much. I had to use more powerful techniques. All the fighters of the Hyuga clan faced such difficulties. It became even more difficult when information came from headquarters. These creatures can only be destroyed by fire, otherwise they would come to life. There were few people in the regiment who owned fire techniques, but the main task fell on their shoulders, the final destruction of the black creatures. 2 days later, Niji's regiment requested reinforcements. They suffered heavy losses. About 70 fighters were destroyed, their strength was running out, and these creatures were not getting smaller. It's good that they destroyed the corpses, otherwise everything would have become 100 times worse. The closest to them was the regiment that included Gaara. Niji was surprised when he learned that the Kazekage would participate in battles, and not sit in the headquarters like all Kage. And he experienced a huge surge of respect for this man. And he knew that Gaara was Naruto's friend, and Naruto only trusted people. The Kazekage led the ranged fighters, so their help was very useful. As far as Niji knew from his commander, Gaara's regiment did not suffer such heavy losses as theirs, so there was a chance for significant help. Gaara and his fighters came a day later. They walked very carefully, practically not engaging in battles. There were only 2 of them while they were coming here. But upon arrival, they immediately had to engage in battle. They destroyed the enemies quickly. The Kazekage clearly led the shinobi and himself successfully defeated the creatures. Niji seriously admired him, his endurance and stamina. With just his appearance, Gaara radiated confidence and power. As they say, a strong shinobi can be seen from afar. Once the creatures were destroyed, the shinobi had a chance to breathe. Destroy all bodies with fire, and then rest. Gave the order to the Kazekage. He said this loudly, standing on a sandy platform, so everyone could hear him. Kazekage-sama, all the corpses have been destroyed. One of Gaara's wards reported 10 minutes later. By that time, the fighters who did not master the element of fire had already settled down on the sand and were resting. Obviously completely exhausted. Niji looked at Hinata and, making sure that everything was fine with her, turned his gaze to Gaara, who was talking with the commander of his regiment. Hyuga came closer when he was called. What about numbers? And Niji also admired this emotionlessness of the Kazekage. He always spoke with such icy calm. And there were icebergs in his eyes. 3 of our soldiers were lost in this battle, said the commander. Got it, so it's not all that bad. Gaara nodded. He turned to Niji. Are you okay? Need medical help? No, I'm fine, Kazekage-sama. Hyuga suppressed his surprise and said this in a calm voice. The commander, having received orders from Gaara to report to the Hokage, left, leaving the guys alone. Call me by name while we're alone. And then the Jinchuriki's face lit up with a slight smile. Niji looked at him in surprise. Naruto asked me to check on you. Shikaku? Gaara mentally addressed his demon. He is okay. I don't feel anything serious. The raccoon squeaked in response. Thank you. You're really okay. I had to make sure. The red-haired man chuckled. If something had happened to you, Naruto would have killed me. Why? Niji asked anyway. You are her friend. The Kazekage simply said. And she asked me to keep an eye on you and Hinata-chan, since I will be next to you. Naruto. Niji sighed. Still, this girl was amazing. There is a war going on, there are no fewer of these creatures, and she only worries about others. Even on the battlefield, she found a way to keep track of her friends, except for the seal she placed. Yes, and Sasuke and Sakura-chan will be calmer this way. Gaara added. Even though you reported to them, they were still distracted by the thought that you might be injured and just don't say it. This way they will be confident in the veracity of your words. I won't lie. Especially Naruto. Niji nodded, mulling over in his head everything the red-haired man had said. He, seeing his thoughtfulness, went to his soldiers. Hyuga was once again amazed by this girl. She had gathered the strongest shinobi around her. They trusted her, they loved her, they were willing to fight for her. This amazing ability is to win people over. Naruto not only took from people, she gave back in equal measure, or more. She dedicated herself, her strength, and her protection to them. And Naruto brought Neji closer to her when she put that seal. Now Hyuga was completely sure that he was fighting not only for his Kage, but also for Namake's Naruto. Itachi, we need to look for him. Or at least the one who controls these creatures, said Sasuke. More than 6 days have passed since the war began, and no shifts in one direction or another have been observed. Shinobi suffered losses, creatures died but did not disappear. If this continues, then in a few days the advantage will clearly be on the side of the enemy, but this cannot be allowed. What do you suggest? Itachi frowned. I'll go ahead. We are moving closer and closer to the fire country. If these creatures appear there, then everything will become much worse. There are forests all around, it's easier to fight in a vacant lot, you know it yourself. Uchiha Jr. said seriously. We need to take more decisive steps. Do you want to contain these creatures in the desert? The main thing is that they don't reach Suna. Then there will be virtually no destruction. Sasuke nodded. It is reasonable. But I can't let you go alone, you know that. I will never make such a sacrifice. No matter how much I love my country, I love you more. Aniki, Sasuke wanted to object. To say that he was already an adult, that he was a strong shinobi, and that he could handle it, but he couldn't. Yes, Sasuke was stubborn, unbreakable, but seeing how his brother was worried about him, he could not say anything. Uchiha Jr. lost his older brother once, and he is not going to repeat this a second time. After all, Sasuke loved Itachi too. We'll go together, said Naruto, who came up. Sasuke is right, something needs to be done. Oh no. I didn't want to let Sasuke go, and especially not you. Itachi snorted. Aniki, we are strong shinobi, you know that yourself. And you are also my closest people. And you want me to let you go into the unknown? The older brother frowned. Naruto sighed heavily. If we don't go now, we'll soon start losing. We suffer small losses, but other regiments. Naruto, Itachi looked hard at his lover. He understood perfectly well what was happening at the front. He understood that there was practically no way out and the only option was to go in search of the man in the mask, but letting go of dear people is always difficult. Especially if you are a commander and the decision is yours. Naruto, seeing the guy's condition, took his hand and intertwined their fingers. Aniki, we'll be fine. Remember who trained us. If we survived with the Sannin, then nothing will happen to us at the front. Sasuke chuckled, and Itachi just shook his head. Anyway, I think it's a bad idea. The elder said. I'm going with you, Sakura said as she approached. Itachi practically groaned. We are a team, no matter what, I can't stay without you. I think this is a very bad idea, Uchiha Sr. whispered. He's hunting the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki. This is doubly dangerous. But you will be safer. He will find out that I left the regiment. Naruto walked closer to Itachi and hugged him across the waist, placing his head on his chest. You know, I can't just sit there. We can protect ourselves, Itachi-san. Sakura chuckled. Okay, I agree. The Uchiha kissed his girlfriend on the top of her head, and she pulled away. Naruto stood next to Sasuke and Sakura. When you go a sufficient distance, I will try to catch a trace of extraneous chakra, said Naruto. She entered fox mode and created a clone. My clone will go with you. If he gets divorced, I will know that everything is bad. Okay, I understood. Be careful and don't forget to report. As soon as you find something, let me or Shursui know. I'll explain everything to him. Be careful, Aniki, Sasuke said in response. Itachi nodded. He looked at the trio one by one, nodded to them and left. Naruto looked after him. Her heart was so heavy, as if she was letting him go forever. She had a bad feeling, as if something bad was going to happen soon. And this made my soul even worse. But we need to take decisive action. War cannot last forever. Itachi! Naruto called out to her boyfriend. He turned around and looked at her questioningly. I love you, she told him mentally. Naruto felt the melancholy coming from the Uchiha, his fear and awareness of the inevitability. Uzumaki would really take this risky step. I love you, Itachi echoed and threw one last glance at Naruto and walked towards his people. 5 minutes later, the regiment was already disappearing over the horizon, and team number 7 looked after them. They knew that perhaps they would die there. Although they were the strongest at their age, the enemy was much stronger. They did not know what awaited them ahead, but they knew that they would not give up. Sasuke and Sakura, Naruto is sure, managed to explain everything to their lovers and say everything that was necessary. Turning around, team number 7 went in the opposite direction from the regiment. And Naruto went in the opposite direction from her world, because her world is Itachi. Team 7 boldly stepped into the unknown. Team 7 had been running for about 24 hours. At night they took a break for several hours, and then, at dawn, they ran again. Naruto couldn't sense the foreign chakra, so they ran towards the fire country. Oddly enough, they did not come across the creatures. However, while the regiment was still close to them, Naruto sensed the creatures approaching the shinobi. If the clone is not dispelled, then all is well for now. She still couldn't understand how the technique used to create these black creatures worked. It was based on natural energy. Naruto herself saw how they recovered from it, but they had practically no chakra. And also their ability to infect shinobi with their claws. It was truly a strange technique. Naruto had never heard of it in both worlds. Sakura theorized that through the cut, the creatures transferred a very small part of their chakra to the shinobi, thereby infecting his hearth. This is how fighters turn into creatures. But she couldn't guess where the creatures themselves came from. Sasuke, as Orochimaru's student, tried to remember if the Sannin had told him about something like this. Of course, he didn't remember anything, because the serpent didn't talk about such things. Naruto also tried to find the Sannin themselves. Nothing had been heard of them since the beginning of the war. Shursui once said that they were exploring the western border of the fire country, near the country of rivers. There was a chance that Team 7 would meet them. After several more hours of running, the shinobi finally made it out of the desert. As Sasuke said, they found themselves in the land of rivers, and from here it's a stone's throw to fire. Towards evening, team number 7 reached the borders of their country, where they decided to take a break. They settled in a small clearing under the trees, and Naruto began to scan the area more carefully. To her surprise, the Sannin actually showed up at the border. They were not far from Team 7 and were obviously moving in their direction. Closer to night, the Sannins landed in a clearing, looking intensely at their charges. Naruto waved happily at them, Sasuke nodded phlegmatically, Sakura bowed slightly. What are you doing here, Ji-san? Naruto smiled as the Sannin sat down in the clearing opposite the team. Suspicious shinobi have been spotted at the border, but we can't find them. It's been a few days now. It was as if they had fallen through the ground. Only sometimes there are bursts of chakra, but they quickly disappear. Tsunade answered instead of Jiraiya. They just hide the chakra. Orochimaru waved his hand. What have you forgotten here, kids? He asked, with a characteristic hiss. Have you heard what's happening at the front? The Uchiha asked seriously. We received short letters from the Hokage and messages from our people in the regiments, but we know everything in general terms. Jiraiya spoke up. The enemy's army is some kind of incomprehensible black creatures. They attack in hundreds, they have practically no chakra, but they have claws with which they turn shinobi into their own kind. Sasuke began to initiate the Sannins into the situation. I suggested that they infect the shinobi hearth with their chakra, passing it through their claws. I have no other options. Sakura inserted the word. Tsunade nodded. But that's not the worst thing yet. The Jinchuriki chuckled. These creatures rise from the dead using natural energy unless destroyed by fire. It's good that we figured this out on the first day, otherwise the sand would have been completely in these. We began to suffer losses, so our team decided to leave the regiment and go in search of the enemy. Sasuke added. If this continues, we will be defeated in about a week. We are suffering great losses. Sakura finished. The Sanins began to think seriously. Each of them tried to remember at least something vaguely reminiscent of this technique, but to no avail. The great Sannin did not know about such a technique, but they were completely sure, like Naruto earlier, that it was based on natural energy. Naruto, I feel chakra. The fox suddenly growled. A very weak focus, but a strange energy emanates from it. Where? About 2 kilometers south. If you try hard, you can feel it. Naruto closed her eyes, trying to tune out the rest of the world and focus on her chakra. She threw away the feeling of the chakra of people close to her and switched to alien chakra, maximizing the range of her sensory abilities. She actually felt a faint pocket of chakra. She was so far away that at such a distance almost nothing could be detected, but she felt a strange energy from this hearth. This was already something. The fire didn't move, so Naruto wondered what to do. Night is approaching. Sakura is tired, because they have been running for almost the whole day. While Sasuke and Naruto still have quite a lot of strength and chakra, Sakura had less stamina. You can't go into battle now. But if you leave this hearth until the morning, won't it go away? We don't know what kind of shinobi this is, Naruto. You can't even tell its strength, so you better be fully prepared and rested. Fine. We need to tell the others and then sleep. Early in the morning, as soon as the sun rose, Team 7 and the Sannin set off. They spent the night calmly. Yesterday, after lengthy arguments, they decided to really leave this shinobi until tomorrow and rest, drawing up a duty schedule. Naruto, since she needed the least rest, was the first on duty along with Jiraiya. All this time she checked the chakra center, which continued to stand in one place. They were then replaced by Sasuke and Orochimaru. The last ones on duty were Tsunade and Sakura, but they also got a chance to get some more sleep. Naruto woke up before sunrise, so she relieved them at their post and sent them off to get some sleep. An hour later, Sasuke stood up, then Tsunade and Orochimaru pulled up. With Sakura up and Jiraiya awakened by his wife, the group set off. They moved carefully, covering each other. 2 hours later they reached a place 200 meters from the enemy. Now Naruto clearly sensed his chakra, as well as the chakra of 10 other shinobi. The 10 shinobi's chakra was similar to those creatures' chakra. Only they had more of it and it was stronger. The strongest chakra, the enemy's chakra, felt familiar. Naruto couldn't tell where she had felt this chakra before, but it was familiar. Now she felt that the same chakra flowed in these 10 creatures as in the main one, as Naruto decided, the shinobi. She made an analogy with shadow clones. After 200 meters, the shinobi found themselves in a large clearing. In the center sat a man in a black cloak, from which a very strange black glow emanated. Too much black. Uzumaki was mentally horrified. There were 10 black creatures standing around him. They were huge in size, and in their eyes, in addition to the white, there were red stripes, like vessels. As soon as the shinobi approached, these creatures began to attack. Well, here we go. Naruto was attacked by 2 black monsters at once. To her surprise, they could use the simplest techniques, so 2 fireballs immediately flew towards her. Uzumaki jumped up and launched a water technique from there, which put out the fire. She landed behind the creatures and used the element of wind, knocking them down with a blast of air. The black ones flew towards the other 2 creatures Tsunade was fighting. The 4 creatures hit a tree and landed in a heap on the ground. Just as Naruto was about to use the fire release to burn them, they began to move and merged into one large being. This came as a shock to the young Jinchuriki. Databao. Uzumaki couldn't contain her emotions. Tsunade hit the ground with her fist, causing cracks to appear along it, and the creature, growling, fell under it. Naruto used Fuinjutsu and placed a barrier near the hole, from where this creature jumped out a second later. She tried to break through the dome, but nothing worked. The Uzumaki then made a series of seals and placed her hand on the ground. Black symbols crawled across it, penetrated under the barrier, and bound the creature's arms and legs, taking all of its chakra. When it disintegrated into 4 small creatures that did not move, Naruto removed her Fuinjutsu and burned the corpses with fire, looking back at her comrades. Tsunade and Sakura fought against a creature smaller in size than the previous one, but larger than all the others. It must be 2 beings fused together. Sasuke alone fought against a creature of the same size as Sakura and Tsunade, so, without thinking twice, Naruto again used Fuinjutsu and tied this creature hand and foot, absorbing chakra. When it split into 2 beings, Sasuke burned them with fire. Orochimaru, meanwhile, defeated his creature, so Sasuke also burned this body. Sakura, Tsunade, and Jiraiya fought against the black one, which became larger than it was before. Tsunade punches the creature in the stomach, dodging its claws, and Sakura catches it in an earthen trap. Jiraiya adds his earth technique, strengthening Sakura's technique. He squeezes the technique and the creature splits into 3 smaller ones. Naruto runs up to them and burns the corpses. What interesting creatures! Orochimaru hissed. Very. Sasuke snorted. Naruto meanwhile looked at the main shinobi. He continued to sit in place, as if there had been no fight. The Uzumaki and Uchiha looked at each other, nodded their heads towards the shinobi, and walked towards him. The Sannin and Sakura followed them. Who are you? Jiraiya asked. The enemy did not react. Then Orochimaru launched his snakes at him, but the black barrier did not allow them to pass. Will not work, said a vaguely familiar voice. The shinobi rose to his feet and took off his hood, revealing his face to the world. Databao. Danzo. Jiraiya hissed, no worse than Orochimaru and Sasuke. The one and only. Naruto watched as Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru fought against Danzo. He removed his black shield, as Naruto called this technique, and fought at full strength. Obviously, this blackness prevented him from using techniques, so he removed it. If he had not done this, the Sannins would have had a hard time. Meanwhile, Team 7 was in the wings of the Sannin. If something happened, they had to engage in battle to finally finish off Danzo. So, Jiraiya, in hermit mode, hits him in the face, then in the stomach, and he flies into a tree, where Orochimaru is waiting for him with snakes. The reptiles entangle Danzo, and the Sannin passes a strong bolt of lightning through them, and Jiraiya adds the water technique from above, jumping onto a tree. Shimura is given a strong electric shock, but using the wind technique, he knocks the Sannin out of the tree, causing the effect of the current to weaken. Danzo took the blades from behind his back and imbued them with wind chakra. Tsunade, taking the opportunity, launched a fire technique at the old man. He left as a replacement and found himself near Irionin, putting a blade to his throat. Tsunade only chuckled as Danzo, dodging the Rasengan, retracted the blade. Tsunade kicked the weapon out of his hand and twisted his shoulder. When Orochimaru, emerging from the ground, was about to cut off his head with a katana, he twisted, breaking his arm, avoiding the blow. Naruto scanned him. Danzo's chakra was clearly out of order. It moved chaotically throughout the body, and it also contained another chakra, stronger and darker. Apparently, with the help of this chakra he created this dark matter and supported the technique for creating creatures. Uzumaki was sure that he was the creator. Danzo blasts the Sannin with a huge burst of chakra. The great 3 fly in different directions, and the old man grins. Naruto exchanges glances with Sasuke and they go on the attack. The Uzumaki makes a series of seals that puts a barrier around Danzo, and Sasuke breathes out a huge stream of fire. It surrounds the dome around its entire perimeter, blocking the airflow. Naruto makes another series of seals and slams his hand into the ground. The symbols spread around the perimeter of the dome in the same way as the fire earlier, enhancing the techniques of Sasuke and Naruto. However, there was another surge of chakra, causing the dome to crack. It soon collapsed and Naruto was thrown to the side. The fire went out due to the action of the wind element, and Sasuke flew up to avoid being hit by the kunai that Sakura launched. The girl imbued them with chakra, so they flew at great speed. Danzo went as a replacement, ending up behind Naruto. At the last moment, Uzumaki dodged, entering hermit mode. Namake's Naruto. The old man grinned. Shimura Danzo. The Jinchuriki answered in the same manner. Are we done exchanging pleasantries? You have become strong, Namake's. I didn't think you'd be any good, but you've grown so much. I'll take that as a compliment. Naruto chuckled. Who is this masked man? You will soon find out everything. Danzo grinned, and then coughed. A red trickle of blood appeared at the corner of his lips and began to flow down his chin. Naruto felt another release of chakra. Shimura began to literally sparkle with black bursts. What kind of technique is this? Orochimaru asked as the Sanins began to surround the old man. Sakura and Sasuke stood next to Naruto, thereby forming a circle around the renegade. Danzo looked at each shinobi with a tight smile, and then looked straight at the Uzumaki. This technique was created by my commander. It seems you met him. The attack on Konoha was epic, wouldn't you agree? Shimura grinned, coughing once again. Dark cloning technique. I had to use an artifact, an ancient artifact. He altered my chakra slightly so that I could create clones by transferring the altered chakra to them. Create a lot of clones, as you understand. But this chakra is connected to natural energy, and therefore my clones were able to recover. Danzo said. But this chakra was gradually killing mine, destroying my hearth, so soon uncontrollable outbursts began. And so, here we are now. Did you realize the truth, Danzo? Why are you telling all this? Tsunade asked gloomily. Shimura grinned and moved towards Naruto. Sasuke reacted instantly. He took out a katana with one hand, and with the other, turning it into snakes, entangled the old man. The Jinchuriki took out her kunai and imbued them with wind chakra, and Sakura took a fighting stance. I'm dying. My body is no longer able to withstand this technique. But my commander knew that this would happen. And I made such a sacrifice in the name of his victory. The elder chuckled. That attack on Konoha, several years ago. Was it his doing? Were you already in conspiracy with him then? Sasuke asked, not particularly fussing about the rules of decency. Uchiha Sasuke, it must be? I think you will make a worthy successor to your brother, what do you think? Shimura ignored the question. The dark-haired man remained silent, giving the old man an indifferent look. You will not win. You are all too weak for this. He will still get to the Jinchuriki. Why did you follow him? Naruto interrupted him. Because behind him is the future. Danzo laughed hoarsely. You will soon find out everything, Namake's Naruto, and you won't like the truth. At this point Jiraiya could no longer stand it. Having created the Rasengan, he instantly stopped the torment of one of Konoha's strongest shinobi. The Sannin came up behind him and pierced him right through the chest. Danzo fell to the ground, whispering something under his breath. Burn it. You never know. Sakura said. We don't know if it can recover using natural energy. Sasuke and Naruto launched a stream of fire at him, causing the old man's body to turn into a charred ember. Literally a black mess. Although if he had not recovered before, I doubt that nature would have helped him here either. I don't think anyone will cry over his death. The Uchiha said calmly, examining his work. I certainly won't. Uzumaki snorted coolly. Half an hour later, sitting in the trees near the clearing, the Sanins were writing a letter to the Hokage, and Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were talking with Itachi and Shisui. The attack stopped about half an hour ago. According to reports from the front, these creatures all fell at once, and were then burned by fire. There were no new creatures, activity fell. Shursui briefly said. Danzo is dead, and so are these creatures, said Sasuke. They were his clones. Then Naruto told everything that they heard from Danzo. Sometimes she was supplemented by the rest of the team members. We need to tell the Kage as quickly as possible. Ji-san is writing a letter to Minato, which will be delivered by the Toad. He'll know in 5 minutes, Shursui. Naruto answered. What about the situation? State of the troops? There are losses, the shinobi are exhausted, many are wounded. The Irionans work, but they also need rest, you understand. Uchiha Sr. reported. Naruto found out that all the people close to her were alive and well, so she calmed down a little. I feel like something is going to happen soon. I scan the area, but don't notice any traces. Kyubi is also all on edge. Hang in there. We rest for the night and move in your direction. Itachi said. Soon, the senior members of the Red-Eyed clan passed out. Naruto contacted Gaara and briefly explained the whole situation. The friend was once again amazed at her ability to get into trouble, so they decided on that. Next, Naruto contacted Kakashi-sensei. Sensei, how is your situation? Uzumaki asked after Kakashi answered some of his questions. Our regiment lost about 30 shinobi. It's not that bad. Kapi said phlegmatically. Akira is alive and well. Fine. Take care of yourself. I should have been with you. You are my team. We are also strong shinobi, Kakashi-sensei. We're fine. You will always be our sensei, but, nevertheless, you will not be able to be next to us every time, you will agree. There is a war going on, you must be responsible for your regiment. You are my responsibility, I feel it, understand me. I understand. But you also understand that we are already independent shinobi. Moreover, we are students of the Sanins, wouldn't you know? We'll talk when this is all over. Take care of yourself. As always. After talking with Sensei, Naruto felt really tired. The battle with Danzo and the subsequent conversation shook her state of mind. His words that she won't like the truth were very stressful and did not allow her to rest and relax. And memories of the past involuntarily flashed in my head. Naruto remembered the battle with Danzo in Konoha, remembered everything that this man did in another world, remembered his battle with Sasuke. She remembered everything that connected her with Shimura, and her soul felt so sick. This man, if I may say so, always only made her feel sick, angry. And just a little pity. No positive emotions, in a word. We can handle this, Naruto, said Sasuke sitting next to him. As always. As always. The Jinchuriki assented. Suddenly a powerful explosion sounded. The trees shook, and after a powerful gust of wind they were uprooted. The shinobi jumped up on reflexes alone, but they were still knocked down by a powerful stream. They found themselves in a vacant lot and Naruto felt a sense of déjà vu looking around through the dust and soot. Uzumaki saw Sasuke standing on his feet nearby, the Sanins and Sakura were standing nearby. Directly behind them was a huge mountain of trees, dirt and rocks. What? Tsunade didn't have time to finish. The already familiar figure of a masked man emerged from the dust, and right behind him was an army of unknown shinobi. Greetings, that man said cheerfully. How are you doing? The peaceful life of the people of Konoha was disrupted 2 weeks after the start of the war. The village was attacked by shinobi wearing black masks. Some fighters had already fought with them, some saw them for the first time, but everyone stood up to protect civilians and the village. The Chunin and Genin remaining in the village bravely fought the shinobi, while the civilians hid in basements and shelters. Konoha was in ruins again. She didn't even really have time to recover before she was buried again under rubble and trees. The fighters did everything possible to prevent enemy shinobi from entering the city center. The hospital was on edge. It was filled with Konoha fighters and civilians who had come under enemy attack. The Irionans worked hard, and all the kunoichi who could not fight for one reason or another helped them. Many civilians were eager to go to the front line, men to fight, and women to help the sick. But the fighters honestly defended civilians, so they were all resettled in basements and shelters, and the wounded were sent to the hospital. After Tsunade and Sakura left for the front, Shizune became the head of the hospital, and Ren was assigned to help her. These two strong women took the reins and brought the hospital back to health during the attack. Of course, it was noisy and crowded here, but everything was systematized and distributed. Kushina Uzumaki, despite her situation, helped in the hospital. She accompanied the seriously wounded, brought the necessary tools, took notes, and gave the necessary advice. The woman integrated into the life of the hospital and did her job with all her heart. But Shizune and Rin kept an eye on the former Jinchuriki and her state of health. They did not let her overwork, did not burden her with hard work, and were sympathetic to her antics. True, the question of how the Hokage tolerated her still sometimes slipped into their heads. When she was angry, Kushina was simply uncontrollable. Tsunade's two students steadfastly endured and stubbornly continued to monitor the Hokage's wife. After all, they understood perfectly well that this same Hokage doted on this woman, and her children would stand up for her, even if family relations were not the best. And if something happens to the expectant mother, then all the representatives of this family will be angry. It's scary to imagine what will happen then. Rin talked to her husband a couple of times. He was interested in the situation of Konoha, as well as the condition of his beloved woman and son. The former Noera convinced him that everything was fine with them, that they were alive and well. Akio was in a safe place, and Rin was still a good kunoichi, so she could take care of herself. Kakashi didn't like this situation, but he couldn't do anything about it. The situation at the front was not rosy. Here we meet again, Naruto. The masked man obviously grinned. Uzumaki examined her enemy, his army, and realized that things were bad. 6 shinobi, no matter how strong they are, will not be able to hold out against several hundred enemy fighters. Or even more, according to the feelings of a Jinchuriki. Naruto mentally contacted Kurama and asked if he was ready. What about Lise? The fox had been waiting for this day to work at full capacity for a long time. Uzumaki just grinned at her friend's words. I can't say that I missed you. The Jinchuriki snorted. Naruto scanned her enemy's chakra again. A strange feeling of something wrong came over her with renewed vigor. She felt something she shouldn't feel. Databao. He has your chakra. Naruto exclaimed. Kurama, what's going on? Where? I don't know. The fox answered briefly. Who are you really? Uzumaki asked sharply. Tell me what your name is. I feel. Naruto couldn't finish. She couldn't articulate what she felt. The masked man was silent. He looked intensely in the direction of the Jinchuriki, tilting his head, and was thinking about something. He was haunted by a feeling from which he had tried to escape all his life. This girl, Naruto Namikaze, was somewhat similar to him. He felt a dear, close soul. And that scared him. It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be. You don't want to know, Namikaze. The masker chuckled. He spread his arms to the sides, preparing to use the technique. However, as the leader was once again convinced, Naruto Namikaze was no slouch. Far from a miss. As soon as the Jinchuriki felt a surge of chakra from the enemy, she formed a series of seals. For a second nothing happened, and then a bright orange chakra began to appear from under the ground, which enveloped the girl. A few moments later, a huge nine-tailed demon fox towered over the battlefield. Naruto was sitting in his head. Kurama growled loudly, fluffing his tails, causing the Sannin and Sakura, standing a few meters away, to recoil. Sasuke just chuckled. His best friend is back in all her power and in all her glory. You continue to amaze me, Naruto, said the masked man. He made a series of seals with one hand, and huge stakes began to emerge from the ground, surrounding the entire perimeter of the battlefield. Then he made more seals, and these stakes sparkled with lightning. Naruto, without hesitation, launched a tailed bomb at one side. The ball easily penetrated the wall. Then the man in the mask took off. He really took off into the air and made the next seals. A huge mound began to appear in the center of the clearing, which soon formed into a giant man. More precisely, a black monster, similar to the previous